URC Power Rankings, folks. After 16 rounds of the competition, we are getting ever so closer to the business end. And some teams have essentially ruled themselves out of playoff contention with losses at the weekend. We'll go through the teams from bottom to top, rank them to see who is in form, who's been getting the wins over big teams and away from home and big margins and all that jazz. With more weighting on the recent results than the start of the season, you guys can let us know your thoughts on how the teams are looking and how the teams are perhaps fairly or not reflected by their positions on the actual table. Zebra is one that is going to be consistent as always. Bottom spot on the table, bottom spot on the power rankings. But that's 2 weeks in a row that they've lost at last minute. So I do feel for the Zebra lads. They could really use a win. But they lost to fellow strugglers, the Dragons, after a previous loss the week before the fellow strugglers, Edinburgh. So, yeah, brutal to lose it twice in a row in the last minute. Then we got the Scarlets. The Scarlets had a loss in a game against the Bulls, which was maybe a bit closer than expected. It was proper tit-for-tat stuff. Penalties exchanged in the end, but the Bulls managed to see them off. So it was never going to be a massive difference maker for the Scarlet season, but it certainly would have been a nice feel-good win. Like the Zebra fans, not to be for them. And then we got the Dragons. The Dragons in the power rankings are actually up one. So the Scarlets are down. They've swapped spots. Dragons got a win. Scarlets got a loss. And this actually matches up with their positions on the table. Dragons are 14th. The Scarlets are 15th. Now the power rankings match. So well done the Dragons for getting a win. Then Edinburgh, who I've got 13th on the power rankings. They are actually 12th on the table. They got a result over the Sharks. They spoiled the Sharks season. Edinburgh's only real thing they can do in front of their home fans is play spoilers. They've got another game upcoming soon, which they can potentially play spoilers with Connacht as well. But fans were out in force. I saw them get a victory over a pretty star-studded Sharks side, so at least they have something to cheer about. They are same in the power rankings. I put them up in the back end, but not enough to see them catch 12th spot, because the 12th spot team also got a win. Benetton. Somebody told me in the comments of the Lions Connacht video, you need to go watch the Benetton Leinster game. I assumed Leinster had won. I didn't know the result. I just went ahead and watched it. Man, that was a bit of a come behind from Benetton. Late penalty to win it. Yeah, cracking stuff for another team, again, who's out of the playoffs. But they got a chance to play spoilers and ruin Leinster's chance to get higher up the table, and those log positions are genuinely quite important because it could decide the difference between travelling or being at home. So, yeah, Benetton playing spoilers to Leinster. I, for one, didn't see that coming. I have not got them up on the power rankings, but believe me, I've put them up in the back end. They've just not been able to make up the gap because there's been a bit of a gap between 12th and 11th, to be fair. Because there's a bit of a fall-off between teams who were already out of the playoffs to teams who were chasing those playoff spots, including the Sharks, who were in the playoff race but no longer. With that loss to Edinburgh, they are done. They have been disappointing, to put it mildly. They're a frustrating team to watch. They somehow blow chances and lose games that you probably think they shouldn't do, but they have had coaching upheaval and whatnot. So, fingers crossed it is a more stable and settled 2026-2027 season for the Sharks, because this season, yeah, it hasn't been the best for them, unfortunately. Then I've got Ulster, who are on a bit of a drop at the moment. They are 8th on the table, so just in the playoffs at the moment, but by no means secure. I got them 10th on the power rankings, down a spot with their latest loss to Munster. They were obviously without a heap of players in that game, but they got hammered by Munster. I just watched that one as well. Goodness me. 4-try man, John Hodnett, running in tries for fun. But, yeah. They've only won, I think, one of their last 4 games in the URC, and that was over Zebra. So, recent form, not great for Ulster. Not ideal time of the season for the form to be lagging, but as I said, injuries are a thing. They started that game kind of promisingly, but we'll see how they can pick things up and see if they can maintain that top 8th spot. Connacht will be hunting them down. The Ospreys I've got in 9th. They also suffered a loss, but interestingly, they've gone up in the power rankings above Ulster, because I think the maths has worked out that Ulster's loss was worse, or Ulster's recent record is worse. Because remember, the Ospreys at least had a win last week. So, yeah, the Osprey season is also done. They lost to Cardiff. It was kind of a squeaky bum game. But, yeah, the Osprey season is like the Sharks one, done. Speaking of Cardiff, I've got them up in the power rankings. They are, sixth on the table. I've got them up one in the power rankings into that top 8. They've had 2 weeks in a row now where they've had these squeaky bum finishes over Welsh opponents. First it was the Scarlets, then it was the Ospreys. So, yeah, they're the Welsh hope for the playoffs at the moment, because all the other teams are out. So we will see. We will see how Cardiff go in their final 2 games. Munster I've gotten 7th. Munster are same as last week, despite their big win. But I've put them up in the back end. It's just not enough to catch 6th spot. But Munster's got 2 wins in a row now since that tour to South Africa. So kind of the flip side of Ulster, who they just flogged. Maybe they are coming right at the right time. Sometimes it happens. Teams have a kind of out of form period. For Munster, it was kind of the middle of the season after a good start, kind of average middle. And then if you come right at the end, it's more important. You'd rather that than the way Ulster are doing it. Anyway, then Glasgow, who seem, since that Champions Cup loss, the wheels have fallen off a little bit. Admittedly, they are also without some players, and admittedly, they have beaten South Africa for the last 2 games, but it's 2 big losses in a row to South African teams. So, yep, they're going to be up there. I mean, Glasgow are still, 2nd on the table? But just recent form is not as good as some other teams who are making a run at the pointy end. Connacht, sadly for them, their winning run has been broken. Connacht are down 2 spots in the power rankings, just like Glasgow with that loss. They are outside the playoff spots, but they were in a hell of a run up until this result against the Lions, who are pretty much the informed team of the URC. But they gave it a crack. It was a bit too late, though. Like they were down, 28-0? They had a spirited comeback in the last kind of 5-10 minutes, but the game was already well and truly done and dusted by that point. So Connacht's season is still not done. They're still in with a chance, and with Ulster's form being what it is, they might be able to catch. But yeah, we'll see. I've got a soft spot for Connacht because they seem like a bit of a plucky underdog, but as I said, they are down 2 spots. Then I got Leinster. Leinster's spot on the power rankings is down 2 from 2. 2nd spot last week, so down 2 spots. Away loss to Benetton. And their recent form is also not that great. What are they, 3 from their last 6 in the URC? Obviously, they got priorities, with the Champions Cup and whatnot. It always affects their season in the URC, the kind of bread and butter comp. But, yeah, that was a bit unexpected. They were in a winning position in that game and didn't manage to hold on against a team who's not been good this season. So, kind of troubling for Leinster. Down 2 spots. Then the Stormers. It's going to be a South African theme to these top 3 sides. The Stormers are first overall on the comp. Why aren't they first on my power rankings? I don't think their recent record is as good as some of the other teams. I think they've still won the majority of their recent games in the URC, 4 of the last 5. They did lose last week to Connacht, but they bounced back this week with a big win over Glasgow, so that's pleasing to see. Yeah, Stormers are going to be tough come playoff time, and so are these guys. The Bulls. The Bulls I've got up 3 spots, just like the Stormers. They've won, I think, 7 of their last 8. Now, it wasn't pretty against the Scarlets. They were made to work for it for a side who's at the bottom end of the table. But sometimes good teams are the ones who can grind out a result even when things aren't going that flash. Andre Pollard with his boot scored a try, kicked the Bulls to victory in that one. But still, number 1 on the power rankings. 6 win in a row. Lions, third on the table with that win over Connacht. Who had that? Especially at the start of the season when the Lions seemed to be struggling. First on the power rankings for a second week. URC is proving to be unpredictable this year, which is pleasing. That's what you want. You want to go into games with a bit of jeopardy, not knowing what's going to happen. It's been really great to see some of these storylines, the teams who have been up and down with their form. Will Glasgow be able to recapture a bit of that magic as we head to the playoffs? Ulster, will they be able to hold off the Connacht charge as Connacht head back to Europe? It is going to be fascinating to see. Lions and I think Stormers are both on the road to Europe now, so they've got a bit of a challenge ahead of them as well. So there's still plenty of interesting games to come for these last 2 rounds. You guys let us know your thoughts on the power rankings. Subscribe to the channel if you want some more URC chat, and I will talk to you guys again soon. See you later.